what I think is standards have changed and access has changed. So standards for what? Because I grew up with family, but I grew up in a single parent home. For me, when I was growing up, men could be a family man, husband, all of that good stuff off a single income, take care of 5 kids, and have a wife at home with minimal issue, right? He still had to work hard, but that's how my great grandfather was. I know at the time it was different. And I think as you started getting, man, this is controversial, y'all, but it is what it is. It's the truth. That's why we're here. I think a lot of times, skip it. We're going in. Women into the workplace. I think that changed a lot of stuff. Yeah, I know. Don't take offense to this, y'all. I'm just talking from what I've analyzed. But I definitely think women getting into the workplace and having access to the same amount of money, if not more money, than a lot of their male counterparts are able to get access to, that changed their expectation for what they required in a man. You often hear this. A lot of women don't want a man that makes less than them. That's not even something that's taboo. That's something that's actually known. So if you have a lot of women who are in the workplace, they already say most of our women are more educated than us. They might have more degrees and have access to higher paying jobs and all of these things. That just adds to that standard changing that I said. So we have to make more money. We have to look better because now the whole social media, you're competing with everybody. You have to be the most kind, the most sweet. You have to be a perfect man, a Build-A-Bear. And also you have to make over $100,000 minimum. And if she has kids, you got to take care of her kids. You got to do all of this stuff for the same the same individuals. And the thing that when I say standards changing, we're talking about women who probably wouldn't have even asked for that stuff 30, 40 years ago asking for that now. I'm talking about people who you probably would say, okay, if they get a husband, that's cool. Now they're coming saying, no, I want the top of the line. So you have that. And I think that alone, that standard made it where it's easier. It's harder for men to get women, first of all. Number two, it's easier for women to leave. So now you have it where, and I've seen this even on TikTok, where people are in relationships and are actually leaving. I don't know. I hope she was trolling, but it was a young lady and she said, I had to choose myself because I was losing myself. And she said that she left where she was with her husband and child to go pursue her own life and actually left them. And now she's back on talking terms with the husband. But women can up and leave marriages just because. So when you have such an investment in it, I think a lot of people are afraid of getting married. So you got people who are afraid of getting married, people who can't get married, and then obviously people who are married, but they're not even happy. So you wind up in a marriage and you're still lonely. It's a lot of stuff that can contribute to the male loneliness, but definitely those standards changing is a big part of it.
Do we think that it was women being in the Lululand that's really causing this male loneliness epidemic? Because I've heard what you've mentioned, Shannon. You will see a woman that looks pretty average, okay? Looks pretty average or sometimes even below average, looks a little crazy. And she'll get online. Kendra G, oh my God. She exposes a lot of the foolishness with the people that be calling in to her live show. And they will look a damn mess talking about they want a top tier man that's like making so much money. And I'm not sure. Like, is it an issue? Because one of y'all mentioned earlier about touching grass. How is it really like this or is it just online? So if it's really just online, then why are birth rates down? Why are marriages down? So I tend to believe that it's not just an online issue. Maybe the more extreme cases are fringe online, but if we're being completely honest here, I do think that there is something going on here as far as our relationships with one another. But whether or not that has a direct correlation to gaming, I'm not 100% sure on that one.
No, it's just part of it. I definitely. Go ahead.
I agree with what Shannon said, but I don't. You weren't saying that as if it was a good or bad thing. You was just saying as observation.
Yeah, I'll just make an observation of what it is.
I agree with you. I actually do agree with you that that's a thing. But I'm not a I don't want to make it about. I don't want to put you in a position where you're trying to defend it because you may not be. But basically, I don't have a problem with that because I think that make men be better. At first, you just had to have money and be somewhat stable, and women. You will get a woman, and it's like you could be a piece of shit as a human being, and to her, and to your kids, to your family. But now that you have to have more to offer because women has access to everything we have access to, I think it just makes everybody build more character. Now, as far as what Sandra just said about the birth rates and stuff, I think that's just because the cost of living is getting more expensive in America, period. And I think that it's not appealing to a lot of people to have a family now. It's just not you're not guaranteed to have a house. You know what I'm saying? You're not guaranteed to be able to go everywhere you want because now you got a kid and then you need a babysitter and you need the money to fly and to stay somewhere. It's just like we have so much going on and our money is spent in so many different ways. I think people just like, if I have a kid, I have one. You know what I'm saying? And if it's not at the top of the list of things you want to accomplish, when it can hinder those things in some cases, then people are just kind of like, if I don't have kids, I don't have kids. And I can't even fault people for that at this point, because it's like it just seems like it's more cons than pros. You know, it depends on what they want. And I think what people want has changed because of social media.
Now, I do want to give you a little bit of pushback, though. I do want to give you a little pushback on the idea that this is making men better. I personally, I don't think that is, because the same ain't shit men are still getting women, right? They're still, the women are still flocking to the ain't shit dudes. So I don't think that this is actually causing men to necessarily strive to be better, because the ones who are still getting access to these women, these bird brain women, and I have to call it bird brain because, you know, it's almost like that T app. I don't know if you guys saw that, where the women would post up the man and be like, you know, do y'all have any, you know, feedback on him? Do y'all know what he's been getting down with? And then you look at him and you can tell, you already know by looking at him that he ain't shit. But, you know, the women are still flocking to these men. So I wouldn't say that, you know, all of this is causing men to actually be better. The same ain't shit men are still being ain't shit, but the ones who, you know, regardless of social media or not, that would want to be better are going to be better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be people that ain't shit. That's not going to change. And they have more options of women because they're more visible now. You know, like Drake can pull any girl from Idaho if he wanted to. And it was a point in time where you would never be seen by these people. But I'm not saying that it's gonna change that, because women are always gonna want, you know, the best they can get. You know what I'm saying? But I think that men that maybe if this same person existed 50 years ago, they don't have to do as much, and now they would. You know, the exceptions is always gonna be exceptional, and you know, some of them are good people and some of them aren't. You know, and if they're attractive or if they have a lot of money, then that's just always gonna be their situation, whether that was them now or then. But the majority of us that are just average people, we gotta just do a little better. You know what I'm saying? Just if it's just something like communication or just being more chivalrous, you know, I'm just small things like that.
Well, see,
that's fake. They don't really care about that though. That's one of the things that
it's just
cop out.
It's just,
and I would just like to be honest about that, about this conversation, because one, you gotta understand something. This male loneliness stuff come from it's a multi-factored or multi-layered problem or issue. Like, one, you have a lot of dudes that are not social, like they don't know how to socialize, because you have a lot of adults walking around with children's mentality, a lot. And then you got a lot of people who grew up in this world telling them that everybody need to be sensitive to your feelings and the world should care about your feelings. And so when they grow up, now they looking at this dude over here who's saying some of the most normal shit, and they saying, nah, I don't want that because you saying normal shit sounds mean, I don't like that, no, I'm good. Like that's the problem that we have. It's, like I said, it's multi-layered. It's a lot of that going on. Like, one, you got the dude that don't know how to navigate that type of environment, because he looking at the older guys talking this way, and then the younger girls are like, I don't like you talking that way. But if it's an older guy talking the same way he talked, you know, way back in the day, he can still pull that same young girl. You know what I mean? But they see the young dude as a creep because he ain't got no money. That's the reality of that situation is. You got to be real about that.